in the deep blue seas off Japan, where the waves roll in endlessly and the sky seems to melt into the vast ocean. There is a tradition that has quietly survived for generations: longline fishing for giant bluefin tuna. This is not just a way of fishing, but also an art that requires skill, patience and respect for nature. Japanese fishermen often start their journey before dawn, medium-sized wooden or iron boats, equipped with cranes, winches and thousands of meters of fishing line, leave the dock in the silence of the early morning. They head straight for the vast fishing grounds of the Pacific Ocean, known as the paradise of bluefin tuna. These fish can weigh from 100 to more than 400 kilograms. Are treasures of the sea and are also the most highly valued fish in the sushi and sashimi industry in Japan. The longline method uses a main line 30 to 100 kilometers long, from which thousands of hooks baited with sardines, squid or herring are dropped. The hooks are hung at regular intervals, often marked by buoys, and anchored at the ideal depth, around 100 to 300 meters, where tuna often move in schools to hunt. The key time is at dusk or dawn, when the tuna are most active. Once the entire longline system has been dropped into the sea, the fishermen begin to wait. Sometimes it takes half a day, or more, to start pulling the line up. This is a tense and exciting stage, because each pull is a time of hope. A time of fighting with the giant bluefin tuna struggling below. Skilled fishermen will know how to feel the pull of the line, recognizing when a big fish has bitten. At this point, coordination between members of the boat becomes extremely important. They use electric winches to gradually lift the fish, while holding the line tight to avoid breaking it while the fish is struggling violently. Once the tuna is brought aboard, the fishermen quickly slaughter it using the traditional akejimi method, to keep the meat fresh and free of blood clots. The fish is then cleaned, stored in cold storage, and immediately transported to the port for auction or to famous fish markets such as Toyosu in Tokyo. Some bluefin tuna have sold for millions of yen, becoming a symbol of rarity and value in the Japanese culinary industry. Over the years, despite the advent of modern technology with large ships, radar, GPS and satellite fish tracking systems, longline fishing for bluefin tuna still retains its traditional characteristics. This shows the resilience and dedication of the Japanese people to the sea, a profession that is not simply a way of making a living, but also a source of cultural pride and respect for nature. The feeling when watching this process is overwhelming and awe. It is not a brutal hunt, but more like a rhythmic dance between man and the ocean. The old fisherman, tanned skin, calloused hands, but the eyes always light up every time they pull a big tuna, the embodiment of perseverance and passion. In the turbulent modern world, Japanese fishermen still steadfastly stick to the sea, keep their profession, maintain the quality and quintessence in every piece of tuna they bring back to the mainland. And that is what has created a valuable story about longline bluefin tuna fishing, a living heritage in the middle of the ocean. The journey at sea is not always smooth. There are trips that last for weeks, when the sea is rough, the wind is strong and the waves are so high that the boat rocks constantly. The meal is just a few packs of hot noodles. However, the fishermen still do not give up. They monitor the ocean currents, observe the seabirds, and use their family experience to predict where the tuna will appear. They have a special connection with the ocean, as if they understand the breath and rhythm of the ocean. There are times when after hours of pulling the line, all that is pulled up is sea trash, small fish, or worse, an empty hook. But then there are times when an unusually strong pull makes the line tense. The winch vibrates continuously. That is the signal of a giant tuna struggling. The whole crew shouts. Everyone concentrates highly. Who holds the line? Who controls the winch? Who prepares the gaff, big hook, to pull the fish up? And when the tuna is brought to the deck, everyone's eyes light up with joy, not only because of the economic value, but also because of the pride of winning against one of the most powerful fish in the ocean. Japanese fishermen do not catch tuna indiscriminately or destructively. They understand that marine resources are not unlimited. Therefore, many fleets strictly adhere to regulations on fish size, fishing seasons, and catch quotas. Some vessels even work with researchers to tag tuna for conservation and scientific research purposes. For them, maintaining the sustainability of the profession is not only a responsibility but also a moral obligation. In famous fish markets, where auctions take place every early morning, longline bluefin tuna are often highly valued, because the fish meat retains its firmness. Beautiful fat marbling, rich in umami, a factor sought after by top sushi chefs. When the chef makes a light cut on the fish and slices it into sashimi, each piece of ruby red meat is revealed, the result of dozens of hours of struggle between man and the ocean. The feeling of standing on the deck of a ship, in the middle of the vast ocean, the sea breeze blowing and seagulls flying behind, is something that no technology can replace. It is a primitive, wild and instinctive experience. Longline tuna fishing is not just a job, but a life, a flesh and blood bond with the ocean. For the Japanese, bluefin tuna is not simply an expensive ingredient. It is a symbol of the samurai spirit in the sea, integrity, patience, and dedication. The fisherman, when casting his line into the sea, is like the swordsman who makes his final strike, decisive, calculating, and never lacking respect for his opponent. When looking back at the journey of a tuna, from the ocean to the fish market, to the dining table in a high-class restaurant, we can see the true value of each piece of meat. Behind it is the sweat, the technique, the experience, and the dedication of the people who venture into the ocean. And perhaps, that is what makes each time enjoying bluefin tuna an emotional experience, where we not only eat fish, but also touch the story of the sea and people. When the last tuna of the day is pulled up and the deck is cleaned, the sun has just begun to set on the horizon. The sunset dyed the sea red, making the scene quiet and poetic. The fishermen were tired, but their eyes were filled with joy, a worthy reward after a long day of struggling with the waves and challenges. Some people took a nap right on the side of the ship. Others quietly sat sipping hot tea, letting their hearts calm down in the vast ocean. In the cold compartment, giant bluefin tuna was strictly preserved at the right temperature. Each fish was marked, weighed, and recorded with the coordinates of where it was caught, partly to serve the purpose of tracing its origin, and partly to record the journey of the ship and its crew. Each fish was like an achievement, kept in the logbook, not only for its material value, but also for the spiritual meaning of each successful sea voyage. On land, in luxurious sushi restaurants or bustling sashimi counters, few people can imagine that the bright red, shiny fish on that plate originates from an arduous journey in the middle of the distant ocean. That rich, sweet taste and the feeling of fat melting on the tip of the tongue are created not only by the quality of the fish meat, but also by the hard work, techniques and silent sacrifices of the fishermen in the Japanese sea. Longline tuna fishing is not for those who lack patience or are dreamy. This is a job that requires physical strength, understanding of the ocean, situational handling skills and above all, a brave heart. There are people who have devoted their whole lives to this profession without ever thinking of giving up. They consider the sea their home, the fish their companions, and the longline a sharp sword in the middle of the ocean. They live a quiet life, without needing to be widely known, but their silent contributions have kept one of the most traditional beauties of Japanese cuisine intact to this day.